For November the 4th, 2021. We have no tree permit or right-of-way issues or plantings on public land, unless, Rox, you've got some update for West State Street?
No, not right now. Well, I should say the trees were received from Nards, and they are in the city's possession at this point.
Good, excellent. In that case, we'll move to the first Title 37 matter on the agenda, 280 East State Street. If you two gentlemen would like to come to the podium and introduce yourselves, and if you've got copies of plans, we'd like to have them up here as well.
My name is Trent D. Bruin. I'm with VSWC Architects here in Athens. And if I have permission to come up, I'd like to hand these out.
Please do.
Thank you. And there I was with my squinty little copy this entire time. Feel like royalty.
So our intent here was to, I believe we are showing 14 large shade trees. We met out at the site and discussed potential locations with Mr. Ingram, and this was the conclusion. I believe we need to show 11, and we are showing 14. We do include a list of potential trees to plant here. I know the Kentucky coffee tree is just a little bit there. I think at the, it's just down the street there a little bit, so I didn't know if we were looking for your input on what trees you thought would be appropriate for that street to, we want to be a good part of the community and good community members, and so we are looking for your input. If you say, boy, it'd be really nice to have this tree here, we are all about that. So that was our intent, and then the second page that I gave you shows the existing utilities and or proposed utilities. There's a storm drain line coming out from the building there, and then there is a storm line there, appears to be right at the curb. So that is what we have. We do the existing lawn area right beside East State Street, adjacent to the curb, is existing. There is a spot there just below these parking spaces. This area here, this strip of green, we were proposing that so there would be grass or a painted area on either side of the sidewalk. We were looking to include some bushes there to help with headlights and to soften that up a little bit, and then have trees across there as well.
I want to commend you on your choice of trees. They seem appropriate. We are particularly happy that they are large shade trees and natives.
Good.
Good looking list.
Yeah, the fact that you have trees that will have fall color as well as spring flowers is appreciated.
Great, thank you. We had some guidance.
Well, excellent.
The other thing that we should note is that there are, I think it's 4 crabapples existing in the right-of-way and just in front of the building. These are quite elderly crabapples, and my recommendation is that they be removed and that these trees be used to replace them, because they're going to have to be replaced soon anyway, I think. And obviously, being small shade trees, that we would much prefer these large ones. Yeah. The other comment I'd
Did you
make.
ever think of putting any within the parking area itself?
We talked about it. Our goal was to try to keep it more on the street to kind of bundle them together and create that streetscape. So that's where our focus was.
To have them is to shade the pavement too, and to collect that water from the first.
So these are on the south side of the property. So we thought when they got older that they would provide some shade onto the onto the parking lot area, but you're right, we are not showing any currently in the actual parking
yours.
area.
So, because the purpose of this ordinance was to shade parking lots so that there wouldn't be the tremendous heat that is absorbed and then reflected from those parking lots would be reduced by the presence of the trees. I mean, it's good to have the trees, but having trees within the parking lot is really important.
I would say this, though. In this case, this is a property that is 100% impermeable area.
It's what?
It's a 100% impermeable area. And so if we were to consider planting trees in any of the areas in the parking lot, we would be on hard bedrock or rubble or
I mean, it's
So
all
why-
Trash.
existing.
Yeah, so right now, I truly, in this property, Lee, don't see the possibility for having an in-ground tree anywhere else within the parking area.
So why is it just a few feet down? Why is that okay to have trees?
That area was already
It's not,
done for landscaping. It was
Oh.
done for smaller landscaping, and so there is, you know, the access to soil and also to drainage. But over here, my fear is that we have feet of concrete and asphalt, and if we were to expect any trees to grow in that area, it would be nearly impossible. The only thing really we could consider, I think, are raised planters. And that, as you know, is a real difficulty in a parking space.
you know, I have been amazed at the trees at the State Street, at the Market on State, you know, because they have planted, there's a center as you
Yes.
enter the middle, and those trees have so little soil.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, those will never survive. Now, it's been several years. And on Columbus Road, another place where totally, it's just rock underneath the road. And yet those trees, most of them have survived. It's sort of, it's no guarantee for longevity, but I thought, why even waste the effort? But,
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing.
The Wistendal garden is, underneath it was the tarmac for the
Yeah.
airport. And it took a lot of work, but there's now soil that's pretty good, and the bur oak is actually growing there. But it took a lot of work. And that's,
I think that ideally, if this had been another site, I think I would have advocated trees in the parking, because I agree, that is, you know, what we want to ultimately do. But I think the fact that they are planting more trees than required, I think the fact that they are replacing trees which are aging out, which they don't theoretically have to do, I think that this group has really tried to take into account the spirit of what we are trying to achieve. And the fact that they're also willing to do an additional median, which doesn't meet shade tree requirements, but does give green space, and also gives a permeable area, I think is really
well,
laudable.
the main fact is it's already there, so you
Yeah,
have to dig it up, and that's pretty
yeah.
destructive.
So how many floors are going to be in this building?
So the rear portion, there'll be 2 floors. The existing brick, it's existing brick at the rear, and the addition, we're going to remove the roof, and so it's going to lower that floor quite a bit, and so the addition will pop up, I don't know, we don't have it completely figured out, 6, 8, maybe 10 feet above. It's not going to be a huge amount above that existing brick back there. I'm excited about it. I think it's really going to fit in nicely with that neighborhood, specifically with the residential in behind it.
Is it a flat roof?
It currently is a flat roof that slopes back toward the alley, and it will remain, the new roof will be a flat roof that
Well,
slopes back.
here's a crazy idea for you.
Okay,
If it has the bearable weight, consider a green roof.
okay.
Just saying.
We will consider that.
Are there plans to put solar panels on it?
At this point, no. That doesn't mean they can't be in the future, but at this point, no.
Will you be doing future plans for buildings and areas in the future in Athens?
Myself?
I
Well,
hope.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, he's a local
They're
architect. He's a local architect. We hope he
In
will.
the future, if you do a parking lot, keep in mind the possibility of putting some trees in the area.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've got a proposal here for these up to 14 trees. I think it's good that they got 14 because
And they're great trees.
and they're good trees. But they may uncover things that may stop one or two of these trees being planted. We can never be certain of these things, so I think it's always good to have more than you need.
And they'll be touching each other, which I understand is good for trees.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things we're going to have to allow them to do because these are being planted closer than 30 feet.
Yeah.
They like to touch each other.
They do, yes, yeah. So it will definitely provide a barrier between East State Street and this property. The other piece we have to give permission for is planting in the right of way, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do when the property is so close like that.
The new code requires that staff approve any trees that are in the right of way.
Oh,
So
yes.
if you're recommending that, we'll review it.
Yeah, obviously, yes. I mean, I've warned them about this, that if the city decides there's some utility down there, then they won't be able to plant those trees.
Correct.
But then we'd have to find elsewhere. If that took it below 11, we'd then have to find somewhere else to plant
Correct,
those
yes.
trees, certainly. The other consideration, which I think you've thought about, is we require some screening around the dumpster and so on. You haven't given that in these plans. Do you want to just describe briefly what it is you're planning to do with the screening of the dumpster area?
So the dumpster area that we have proposed, there's an existing outbuilding up here in this top left corner, and our intent was to just simply extend a couple, I was thinking of some couple block walls or some kind of decorative wall. I guess we haven't really got to that far, but we certainly were intending to screen it in some form or fashion.
Because that is part of it. And the other thing that has been brought to us now with the City Council's revisions are that any plants that are supposed to be, you meet the requirement for native trees, but the current code actually requires any other plantings. I'm trying to find the wording quickly here.
Pollinator friendly.
I think that's what it is.
I think it's pollinator
No,
friendly.
the city permitted landscape have 60% vegetation required for tree species and 50% vegetation, native vegetation required for shrubs and ground covers. Planting material must be on blah blah blah. So that's just something that you'll have to watch out for when you submit the final plan to.
So once again, that's 50% native shrubs?
Yes.
And ground covers, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some pretty tall native shrubs that you come with. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Tall
there,
shrubs that she grows.
if you need any help selecting shrubs, we'd be happy to give you some advice with that as well.
Did
We
you
are
have
all
anything
ears.
in mind at the moment for the plantings along there? You've illustrated the presence of some shrubs and so on. I mean, what I remember, there were some shrubs present on the site. Are you planning to keep those, or are they going to be replaced?
My thought would be if they're in good health, that we would retain those.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Yeah, good.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do any of the commissioners have further questions?
No, well done. Thank you for the plan.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Is there any objection to approving this plan? If not,
No.
I will write this up in the minutes and send it to David Riggs.
Thank you.
You've done what we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Marietta Memorial Hospital.
Good evening, my name is Kyle Adams from Planet Studios. I'm a landscape architect representing Marietta Memorial Hospital.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Do you guys have copies of the stuff I submitted to Mr. Riggs, or?
All we've got are these tiny ones that we've individually
Okay.
printed out, if we have managed to print out anything.
3 copies of the larger version.
Okay, that's fine, I can read mine.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
And Nancy will take the one.
She'll definitely have one. So, can you present your plan to us? Because we had a lot of questions last time one of your colleagues was here, and I'm not sure that we've got the answers in these documents
Okay.
to the questions.
So when we went through the zoning code and the amount of space we have to meet the requirements, we needed 56 shade trees to meet the impervious requirement, which there are 56 shade trees represented in our plan. Part of those are the street trees that are allowed to count towards those, which 21 street trees were required. We have 18 large shade trees and 10 small due to the helistop. We can't have any shade trees around the heliport, so then we calculated the permeable area, and we added more permeable area to the actual site to allow us to count 91 existing trees towards the 83 required. All of our trees were chosen from the Athens Shade Tree Commission list. A lot of natives in there, some other hardy urban trees. Dispersed along the site as best we could. The reason we went and counted the trees in the forest is existing. With 30-foot on-center distance requirements, there's just not enough space on what we are developing to simply put more trees back in there, so we counted the trees that were existing towards that.
Just so you know, we can give you a variance, so you can plant trees closer,
Okay.
if that's helpful. I think that my confusion with the plans is, a couple months ago, we received a plan and we were having issues calculating what was the impermeable and the permeable square feet. And so at the time, when your colleague was here, we weren't able to do the calculations. And recently, when we received the information, at least what I received, perhaps others received something else, was the tree survey. So I think what I'm still looking for is the information that gives us the plan with the total square footage, that gives us the impermeable and the permeable. I don't know how we didn't, or at least I didn't get that information.
Our calculations are all spelled out on page 3. I don't.
Okay, on page 3 of the survey plan? Or?
Page 3 in general there, yeah.
Oh, okay, on theirs. Let's see. Oh, please, absolutely.
It might be hard for you to read here. Those are all detailed in the zoning notes, what our impervious or permeable is.
Perfect, thank you.
Now, the question I had was that I couldn't, from the original plans, and I'm still having difficulty with this one, is understanding what is the area of the property, because it's the property area that is the key to the whole thing as far as I'm concerned. I can see on this diagram that you've got a dashed rectangle marked out, and then beyond it I can see it says site boundary.
Yes.
So which is the property line?
Property boundary and boundary of disturbance are different. The property boundary is actually this whole parcel here.
Yes, okay.
What we counted and added into our impermeable calculation was where we went down into the ravine and counted these trees. Anything we counted there, we added that square footage to the permeable here. Because if we were going to count those trees, then we'd have to add that towards the site itself.
Yeah, you see, the way we interpret this is that we have to take the entire site area and we can divide that by 1767, and that gives us the total number of trees required for the entire site. We then look at the impermeable area and calculate how many of those trees are actually going to finish up being associated with that permeable area. Impermeable area.
Right.
And so that's where I'm having a little bit of a difficulty, because I can't see how that calculation has been done.
Okay.
I see on here you've got 146,000 square feet for the permeable and 86,000 for the impermeable. If I was to add those two together, will I get the square footage of that site?
Oh, no, not of the entire parcel, but of the site that we are, the area that is being developed and disturbed.
Well, this is the problem, because
Mr. Chair, maybe I
Yeah.
could help here.
Yeah.
This total property that the developer is proposing to buy is approximately 27 acres. We discussed this with Planning Commission and Safety Service Director, and the vast majority of that site won't be disturbed. And so Planning Commission and Safety Service Director set out at what they considered to be the site rather than the property. This is kind of an unusual parcel here, where most developments will use the majority of the property that they've purchased.
Yeah.
In this case, they're not. And what the developer did was they defined what the site was for the site plan on Title 47, and that's what they've submitted to you.
Well, aren't there a lot of trees around that area already?
Acres, yes.
Yes.
You'd be able to count all those if you
Well,
counted the whole site.
they could, but I mean, an alternative way of dealing with this is that we will make it a firm note in our proceedings that no development and no tree clearing will be permitted on the rest of the site.
I think that would be appropriate, sir.
Because that's the only way that we can really do this. Because in the past, where we've had large developments and people have, it's unreasonable to go around counting all the trees. But if that land
Agreed.
is left so that trees can thrive in it, then the trees will come back.
If I could interject, sir, the vast majority of this property that they purchased is actually in the Federal Emergency Management floodplain and floodway.
Well,
So
yeah,
no development could occur because of that without some significant work
Yes,
to
but
be
we've seen
done.
people clear trees in the.
Yes, sir.
And so that's why I want to establish that what we're doing essentially is declaring that used to be a natural area where trees will be allowed to regrow.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make a note that if Planning Commission makes these decisions, Shade Tree must be informed and perhaps even asked before decisions are made. And that is a stern warning.
So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this matter before us for several months, and this is the first that you've first time you brought this to our attention. I think that's what's causing some consternation to us.
Okay, but moving on, because I do think that it is reasonable. So if we could then go back to the calculations of the 56 trees that are required in the impervious area, and then the 83 trees in the permeable area. When we looked at this the last time, your ratio of native trees, excellent. Thank you very much for doing that. I'm trying to remember, at the time you had, I believe you had put in some magnolia trees. So where can I find a list of the trees that have been selected? I believe it's the plant schedule on that page?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to look at it very quickly. Okay. The Magnolia Virginiana is not considered a large shade tree.
Correct.
It is medium.
Whereas the
And
service area isn't there.
yeah, and service berries. So are those the ones that are around the helipad?
Yes, and they are, so we needed 21, so for the street trees, we needed 21 large shade trees, and then we have 18 large and then 10 small, which I was using the service berries to count for small to make up the extra. Basically, we need 9 to balance 3 per one to get to 21.
Okay.
And the same thing was done for the magnolias around the building. They are beyond the requirement and they're counted 3 to 1.
Yeah, and just to everyone's note, where utilities, and I think we can count the helipad under this condition, we can allow
Okay.
small trees to replace large shade trees on this 3-to-1 basis.
David, is there anywhere where but often smaller trees do not have the longevity of large shade trees?
Correct.
I've noticed,
Yeah,
you
correct,
know.
yeah.
I don't have any scientific
Yeah, but
information to cite for that, but that's been my observation. So, is there anything in anywhere in the requirement that when the smaller trees, that when trees passed on, or if they have to be removed or diseased, that they be replaced?
yes,
Okay, that is a requirement, okay.
Okay, if somebody could help me, I do have a minor confusion. So what are the number of trees that are required now for this site?
The total
Total.
number?
Total number?
according to their numbers,
56, 83, and 21.
Well, according to that thing, it's an 83.
It says 83 and 56.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what did you say, what was the total?
83 for the permeable, 56 for the impervious, and 21 street trees.
Okay, and so that is
104.
but
100, no, it's
yeah, but the-
160
yeah, but
trees, yes?
Yeah, but
Yes.
I think the 21 for the street counts towards the total for the site.
Yeah, actually, I think
Yeah.
he's right. So I think you're counting a little bit higher than what you need to.
I'm sorry,
So-
the 21 count into the
So the
56.
21 would count
Towards the
against the
Impervious.
impervious.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so that means that you actually are required to have 139.
Yep.
Okay, and then, so the plant schedule is showing 71 trees, correct? But some of them don't count as full, they count as half because they're medium or small, right?
Right.
So are you asking for us to grant a tree bank of 139 minus approximately 70 trees? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, we would be counting, we have 91 trees that were surveyed, 83 of those is what we would need to balance. So we were asking for 83 of the 91 to be counted.
Not as a tree bank, but as existing.
But as
tree bank.
Existing
existing,
tree.
yeah, okay. And so, okay. And then, so you're going,
But could I just clarify? So you figured out a site for this, and then you had a problem with the tree, so then you increased the site size in order to include existing trees? Is that, do I understand that correctly? No, okay. I thought you said that you had the site within, you increased it in order to,
Initially, we took the site of disturbance and then surveyed some trees off, that are on our parcel. We tried counting those, and that's when Sam was presenting you, that was how the plan was drawn. We worked with Mr. Riggs, and because if we were going to count trees that were on our parcel but not part of the site, we would need to include that square footage in our calculations. So I took the extra square footage where we surveyed, connected that to our site of disturbance, and then added that into our total calculations to balance.
so you originally had an area, and then you realized you had a tree problem, so you increased that area?
No, it was just the recommendation was that if we were going to count area on the parcel towards the site that we were disturbing, the construction site, that area would also have to be added to our site to count. So we just took
Correct.
that and added it.
does that make sense, Lee?
Well, I guess I just misunderstood.
Yeah, okay. So right now, you have 102 trees in the existing tree survey. And so basically, it looks like, if I did the calculation correctly, you were 71 trees short from the number that you said that you were to plant, which is 139, because we're counting the 21, right? And then the plant schedule, I believe, is the equivalent of 68 trees, since some of them only count as half, leaving you a balance of 71 trees. But because your existing tree survey is greater than that, you're asking for us to count that, which seems appropriate, and the trees that are there are natives, and they are large shade trees.
Oh, we don't know. We don't know what those trees are. do
They're
we?
here in this tree survey.
Okay, this is, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
no,
that's what
it's
the-
okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. forgive us, usually we're a little bit more organized, but we
No
didn't
worries at
realize
all.
that we had the numbers up. We missed it in the squint vision.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing a form. I think
that?
that'll help. Okay, so at this point, does anybody have any issues with
I'm still
approving?
going to figure out how, I still need to, I'm going to need a summary of what it is we're actually doing. I think I know what I'm doing.
Okay,
What I think you've established is that they need 139 trees
correct.
on the site that they are being, what's the term the planning commission said?
The redefined site?
It's the site, it's the site, yeah, rather than the property.
Okay. So, yeah, there are
And that,
100.
sorry, Roxanne, that came
Sure.
from the planning commission or from somebody else?
Yeah, Planning Commission and Safety Service Director.
Okay. So as per the city, there are 139 trees required on the revised site. The planting schedule, although it has a total of 71 trees, some of them are small, medium, we'll count them as medium, so therefore it defrays it by 68. So 139 minus 68 is 71.
So the 68 you're saying comes off this list here?
No, the 71 is coming off the list. The 68 is actually coming from what they are planning to plant. If you total up the trees that they're planting, it would total 71, but some of them only count as half because they're medium trees.
Sweet Bay
Yeah.
Magnolia is a medium tree. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that's a medium tree there?
Amaranth,
No, I
yeah.
believe that they're all,
Okay, good.
I think that,
Wait,
well, actually, the Japanese tree lilac,
That's-
remind me of
Yeah,
that
That's
one.
a small one, isn't it? Isn't that pretty small?
Do you remember? We should know our own.
Well,
A
those
tree
are often
lilac
planted in
is,
the
I would
median of
consider
roads.
probably medium.
What?
Sorry to-
Okay,
so
so
to
if,
speak.
okay, if we,
It's like a crabapple.
yeah.
No,
All
they
right.
get 35 feet in height.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do, yeah.
On a
So-
good site they can, yeah.
Well, yeah,
It's only 400.
But in any case, even if the calculation went down a little bit, there are still sufficient trees in the existing tree survey that would balance the number.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I understand the numbers, that's
Yeah,
So what, oh yes, there's the tree lilac. So that's a medium tree. The service berry is a small tree. But there's only 4 of them, so we don't have to worry too much about those. So you think that that actually then corresponds to 68?
if you count the tree lilac as a large tree, if not, then it's gonna go down to 63.
Okay.
it's a
And so
median.
then it's 139 minus 63, and then it's 76. And there's still sufficient trees for that.
So, yes, then we need 76 now to make the 139. And what we're saying from the existing tree survey is that we've got, what did you say?
102 is how many they counted. You can
And
see at
that's- are those
the
trees
bottom,
that
it
are
says
missing?
Yeah, but there's
120.
blanks up here. I don't know what the blanks.
Some of them were slightly off. There were 102 trees in total surveyed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
91 of those were healthy.
Okay,
And
91
on our
healthy.
site, some of them we surveyed were
Okay, so
in declining health.
91 is the
Okay.
is the number we should use from
Yep.
that one then.
Perfect, thank you.
And this is the existing trees, these are the
Yes.
existing
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
All right.
And
What do they show up on the other?
So that basically gives
they're
them,
off here somewhere, I think.
you know, it gives you a balance of approximately
I
15
think
trees. So if you were to lose 15 trees,
We've got to plant some more.
okay, but if you lose more than that, then we'll ask for replacements.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
Just make
think,
one correction.
Yes,
I-
please.
I just did some research and said lilac trees actually grow up to 25 feet in height, not 35, 25.
I think, I don't see how they could be considered anything bigger than a medium.
yeah,
Right.
well, we just calculated them as a medium.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I thought people were saying,
No, no,
Large.
as a medium.
What is that
Sorry.
last tree? I don't know, I'm not familiar with
Which one?
those little cola.
Zelkova. It's a tree that, it's a non-native, but that's okay. They've got plenty of native trees in there. It's a very vase-shaped tree. It looks that it's been used to replace elm trees because of its growth character.
Yeah.
The honey locust was supposed to do that.
Well, this one definitely does. Yeah, that one definitely does, because we planted
Where
those.
is it from?
Japan.
Oh,
The other thing that I would say is that it should be acknowledged that, you know, they have a helipad. So there are reasons why they are using
Yeah,
these smaller,
right, right.
Yes,
medium
but
trees.
then it has
So-
to go three to one.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
But, and according to this website, they are considered to be small trees, two different
is
places.
it a big tree? Is it?
And one is the Missouri Botanic Garden, which is
No,
premier
it's a large
garden, but maybe you found the same site, yeah.
Okay.
A
So-
small tree,
Okay, but even so, they still have sufficient trees.
oh, yeah, right. And that's also not a native, right?
It is
Okay.
listed as a small species in the code.
Okay, thank you for confirming that, so small.
But I think all of the other, well, the other trees except the London plane tree are native.
Okay,
So
so,
who did the tree survey? Did you do it?
The gentleman that was here a couple months ago, and myself, actually climbed down the ravine with the GPS and tagged every tree.
Did you have a hard time?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Did you have, was it hard to do?
It was hard because it rained all morning, so it was little interesting traversing down in there
It looks
and
like
climbing
it might
out.
be
but-
kind of it's not a flat place. It looks like it's
Okay,
terrain.
It
so
is,
now
yeah.
I'm recalculating.
Very beautiful view of the river in the very back.
So it's 139.
That's a long list.
so is the Sucovia, is that considered a native now?
No, it's
No, okay, so that's not native.
Okay, so now with the new calculation, so you're getting credit for planting 81 trees, if we're doing it right, and you have 91 healthy trees, so now you're down to 10.
Yeah, you're doing okay.
Yeah. But just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a river bird.
All right. Any other issues?
Well, we've got the usual questions about the dumpster screening. That's one of the little details that's in here. I presume you've got.
I'm sorry.
I assume that you've got that somewhere on this site in here.
Right now, that's in the architect's side, because I think it's gonna be masonry. If not, it would be screened with some sort of evergreen
Yeah.
as required, yep. Because we don't have finished facades of the building exactly yet, we have not done the foundation plantings and sort of dress up
And
things
that's the
around
next
there.
piece I was going to point out to you, that we're now requiring 50% natives in the ground plantings around there.
That shouldn't be a problem.
We'll have to just put that in the note that
Well,
they
you
are
notice
required.
the existing trees.
Yes, the existing trees we've
are
got.
all Native.
Yeah, that's fine, but we have to do both the trees now and the ground plantings as well.
I just also
And
want to
they're
say
separate.
one thing. Am I correct that there was in a local newspaper or something about that there was a groundbreaking at the site for this property?
I was not invited, so I'm not aware.
Okay, I believe it was published.
I saw that
It was
from
in the
David.
Parkersburg newspaper, and there was a photograph of people at the site.
Up in Columbus, I've been focused on
Yeah,
just this.
Okay, just a caution. If they consider you out there doing the tree survey as groundbreaking, we're totally good with that.
But it did seem a little bit strange that, seeing as the plans have not been completely approved, that somebody was already claiming that they were breaking ground on the site.
But as we said, if it's a shovel digging around for plants, we're good.
So we're saying that for the shrubs, they need to be at least 50%
Native.
native.
Yep.
Yes.
And, I'm sorry,
There's nothing on here for the shrubs.
okay, all
Don't go
right.
looking.
Yeah.
We're
There's a
just gonna
lot of
have to
small
put
print, but none of them are about shrubs, okay,
What
good.
we're going to have to do is just put that in noted that.
Okay,
They
right.
We'll make sure
gets
they
to the
do that.
code office, they're going to have to,
Right.
check that they've got the natives in the shrubs.
And once you get that list, I'd like to see it, because I want to put in some native shrubs.
We can do that.
I think that,
No,
but
We
I
are
would, I've
supposed to
heard about
maintain the
recently
list.
being good.
We're supposed to maintain a list.
We actually did provide you with a list of native trees, and I thought that we also gave a list of native shrubs
ordinance.
or a link, and if
Says so,
not,
yeah.
let us know, please. Okay, so at this point, let's pull it all back together again. What do we need to do to allow this
is
gentleman
given
to
somebody
sit
else.
down?
Fine. Okay.
David?
I'm sorry, I just need to make sure I've got the numbers straight. You've just recalculated, I think.
Yes.
What did you find?
Okay, so we have 139 trees required, 58 will be counted from the plant schedule, excluding the small ones, leaving us with 81 required, and we were told that they have 91 healthy large trees on site, giving them a variance of 10.
Give them an extra 10, yeah. Okay, good.
And the explanation about the helipad and the small trees,
Yeah.
perfectly acceptable, and the percent of natives is appropriate.
Certainly for the tree planting, we're fine with that because of all the existing trees that are there.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for us?
No, appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much for coming. Your presence here today was very clarifying,
Yes.
Thank you.
so thank you.
Okay, so do the commissioners have any other questions at all about this site and its approval?
Oh, I'm glad you got lots of trees, that's good.
Okay. I will try and write all this up and give it to David Riggs with our minutes. Are there any objections to approving this plan?
None.
Hearing none, you're approved. Thank you.
Thanks, have a good evening.
Do we know where on Columbus Road exactly this is going to be?
Do you know where the...
So if you've been out there, there's an old rusted bulldozer on the west side. That's the easiest way to define it. It's as you're going northwest before you get to Greenleaf.
Yeah,
It's going to be on the left side, and there's like I said, a big old case bulldozer sitting there rusting away, and that's exactly where the site is.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's just closer to Athens than Matthews Insurance or the Honda dealership that's out there as well.
Okay,
It's an awfully tight site to put anything on.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other plans that are coming our way, David?
Yes, you should see WODA, the 682 residential project. They had phase 1 and phase 2 that you reviewed and approved. They are coming back, or they've told us they want to come back with 2 more phases, phase 3 and phase 4, on that same property. So they'll have a total of 4 buildings on that site, 4 different developments.
Have they started building?
Phase 1 and phase 2, if you go out there, you can see they've put the pad, they've made it pad ready. So yeah, they should, I would expect building in the spring probably.
Any
late spring.
issues, or have you been pretty happy with the relationship?
Sometimes with developers and contractors, you have to make sure that they want to jump ahead before everything's in place, and we had to rein them back a couple of times.
Okay, because I would imagine that if there are issues, you will hold up the plans on your end before we see them.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed out. Where is this?
682, directly across from University Estates
Okay,
Boulevard.
So that's the site that you and I visited, Nancy. And now that's pretty low. How high are they building that up?
You'll see that they're building the pads up, and they've actually got a couple of detention basins in the back for
'Cause
stormwater.
the river's right near there, or a branch.
Yeah,
of-
that's Factory Creek, which dumps into Margaret's Creek, and there's actually floodplain back there.
Yeah, we were wondering about that, because it
Yeah.
is close to the river and lots of low spots.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
We had visions of people getting their feet damp. So, yeah.
They're building in the floodplain.
They're building it up above the flood area.
But there's going to be, so in a way, it's going to create maybe a little wetland back there?
Actually, there is wetlands back there that they have to leave undisturbed. They are disturbing a little bit of it, and they did a wetland bank. As it's my understanding, they did a wetland bank for the little bit of disturbance that it actually did
Great.
in the wetland area back there. They also took the pond and relocated all the turtles that were in that pond to the wetland area that the city created or had created behind Little Fish.
Okay.
our next meeting is planned to be December 9th. Are those plans going to be ready for that meeting?
I
Otherwise,
would expect not.
okay, so then it'll be the new year before we'll be getting them. Okay, just want to get a feel for what's happening, that's all. I don't have anything else in the Title 37. I don't have anything to add under maintenance of the tree canopy at the moment. I've been busy doing a lot of other stuff. Are there any other items the tree commissioners would like to raise?
Well, we talked last time about the possibility, the need to get started on some of the things that were required in the grant so that we'd be better prepared next time. I've emailed Ann 3 times and have had no response. I'm assuming she's really busy.
I
just
think-
told her the last one, I'll continue to be the squeaky wheel.
Well, I think you're right, we have to work on that, but I think even more important is that we need to make sure that all of the information that we're supposed to have posted for the pollinator gardens is up.
Still working on that.
Yeah, and so that's, I think, you know, we have time. People are gonna work on this in the spring, but let's try and set it so we're really ready in April.
We don't control that.
Yeah, but I think that we can help provide the information as
Well,
needed.
the form we can't. We've got to do is we have to produce the lists.
Yeah, the lists we've already come up with the links, and those went into the
Okay,
minutes,
sorry,
right?
I misspoke. What I'm also thinking about is that we need, we're supposed to maintain lists according to this of, where is it?
Ann's pretty well done those.
So I think we have lists of pollinators, invasives, we have it for natives. I think you should have all that, and I did get a copy of the form, which I shared with you, Nancy, and I was told where it was on the webpage.
Okay, great.
But it's just that the supporting documentation isn't up there, and we probably also need to have a link to that information directly on the Shade Tree Commission page.
We could- yeah.
But we can sort that out. I'd be happy to work with you. I'm sure Nancy would as well, and Lee, so,
And I think the 2 of us had agreed to go ahead and use the form and see how it worked out.
that's correct.
And what I found was I had much more information than fit on the little form. So I guess we could say.
You are overachieving.
I have to.
I have
tell
60
somebody.
acres of a pollinator garden, I'm gonna list every plant.
There's that, I can always cut it down. But I was thinking that we might want to consider whether we would allow people to attach things.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember if we, I know that you can have images attached. So,
Lists is what I was thinking of.
but yeah, maybe lists too, yeah, I guess. Only thing is I really don't want to go reading thousands of plants. But
Might get
that's
some good ideas though.
That's true, that is true. There's always positive. Okay, anything else? You had something else?
I just wanted to note to the commission that there are 2 trees that are located on Court Street next to the county building. The county was going to remove those. Those are the 2 trees that have the park benches around them.
Yeah.
We actually asked them to submit to this board before they do that. Kind of caught it at the last minute, but you should expect to see something like that coming up.
Well, good for you, because, you know, we
Excellent.
lost an oak tree over there, and,
What was their issue with the trees?
They have 2 issues with the trees. One is that it blocks the security cameras, so they can't use the existing security cameras that they have. And the other concern is that their roots are pushing into the wall on their property at the outside of the right-of-way and causing damage.
So these are the trees on Court Street.
Yes, sir.
So question, the first one, I have very little pity for them. Move the camera.
no kidding.
The second one, though, if a tree is doing damage to somebody's property, that sounds like it would be the city's responsibility to mitigate that or to
Is it
remove
like
the
root
tree.
damage or what?
Yeah, it sounds like it's root damage. So the question is who makes that decision, if the shade tree, I guess it's our decision to agree or disagree that it's root damage due to that tree that's causing the issue.
Those are awful small trees that are causing the root
Well,
damage.
But then it goes to the city to decide the liability, right?
I don't know that. I don't know how that works
well,
exactly.
let me just bring up a point here, speaking as a botanist,
Yeah.
with a special interest in trees, and being trained somewhat by Ann Bonner, that trees do not seek areas where there's no air or water. So if that wall has developed spaces where there's air or water is getting into it, then the roots might be going in there. But if that wall is intact, then there shouldn't be root damage. See, often people will say, oh, see the sidewalk there? It's the roots that are causing it. But what's actually happening, according to research that's been done, is that when a sidewalk starts to fail, then it starts letting in water and air.
Yeah.
And that's why the roots go in. And there can be heaving, but often you can see sidewalks that are heaving with no trees anywhere. But if there's a tree there, they'll blame it on the tree. So
Okay.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
from the
no.
biology of it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And, but just common sense too, the trees are small.
They're what?
You know, the trees are small. They're not gonna have that much oomph.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, so when we get it, we'll come out and see it, and I would recommend that we have Ann.
And it's an easy site to look at as
Where
well.
was it?
This is by the courthouse
Yeah.
on Court Street.
By the courthouse. Okay.
Yeah, there are two sort of semicircular benches that are around two trees on Court Street.
That is in case of
They
a lot
are
of
beautiful
cement.
trees and they provide a lot of shade, and people are grateful that they're there, and so it will be something that we will have to look at as a tree
You know,
commission.
and thank you for catching
Well,
it,
that's
because
not private
for
property.
that,
then.
for them to go ahead
Yes,
without,
but it's the county next to it. And it's the
without
county that can
really
complain
being
to the
looked
city
into.
about
Oh, the county's.
Yeah, that would have been messy.
Andrew Chickey was actually the gentleman that caught it, so.
well, good for
I
him.
think that's good. Yeah, okay, well, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, the one thing I was trying to get into with these lists is I don't think we have tackled the issue of native species list.
I had given I think it's an ODNR site that lists natives, and it
Okay.
lists trees as well as shrubs. So if it hasn't been entered in, I have it, and I will make sure I get it too.
Because these links
City.
need to be visible somewhere.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't think they are visible at the
Yeah,
moment.
we probably
They are not. The application is now on the webpage, but what I propose is that it stays on your site where the forms are, but it actually, the majority of the information will be on the Shade Tree Commission site, where we can have the form and all the other lists, and then you refer back to Shade Tree. I think that will be the logical place to put it. I think that's where people will look for it, because you and I had a terrible time trying to
Yes,
find
we
it on your site,
Oh, God.
under the forms. It was found eventually, but
Yeah,
by one of your colleagues in the office.
yeah, it just needs to be in one place and then link to the other, obviously.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to come by
Yeah.
and work on that with you.
But what I think would be useful is if we could draft up a document that actually has it sort of envisages what we think the site looks like. And I don't think that's...
For the,
been- What would, I mean, there's going to be the pollinated garden application, and then there's presumably going to be links underneath it for these things, and we need to list
Yep.
what each of those links is supposed to do.
Yep,
And then it's a case of making sure those links do what they do.
right. Well, I would be happy before the next meeting, perhaps we can get together and maybe
Well, if you can just
David and
draft-
I could maybe make recommendations for you, just how it's gonna look on the shade tree?
Yeah, just on a piece of paper, just
Yeah, that's all we'll do.
yeah, that's all.
And
we
we'll
need to
fill
do.
in the blanks if we feel like we're missing any information,
Yeah.
and you guys can look at it.
Yeah.
All right, I will commit to doing that with you.
Good, thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
Roxanne.
Okay.
I do have one last question.
Yes, okay.
So the trees were received from the Nards. Where are they being stored now, and when will they be planted by the city?
I don't have information on when they'll be planted. I know that they're located at the garage on West Union,
Do they need to be watered and stuff?
and that's why we put them there, so they could be watered frequently, regularly.
Okay, I think that I will just reiterate, you've probably got some time, but you don't have a lot of time before you're not getting them in the ground this season, and if you wait until spring,
Yeah, you've
They will not
probably got
survive.
until about second week of December,
yeah.
based on the typical winter we get.
Do you know
here.
what they are? What species they
Yeah,
are?
we
They're predominantly oak, and then we have a few others, correct? We have some
Sycamore,
magnolia,
Yeah.
and,
Mostly oak, that's good.
yeah, predominantly oak, and I think maybe Kentucky coffee?
Kentucky coffee, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else?
No,
If not, we have the rather brief minutes. You done something
I
else?
just wanted to ask, who is gonna do the planting, David?
That would be the Arts Park and Rec Department, I think.
yeah,
Oh,
and they are going to be using Greenleaf,
You
as
what?
far as I know. Greenleaf gave us a quote for the plantings. Kevin is on vacation this week, he'll be back next week, so hopefully, I know he's been working on it, even while he's been on vacation. He's been working on it, because we've been texting.
Okay. Minutes of the last meeting, which are rather short.
I approve. I read them.
5 seconds.
There we go.
Okay, so Roxanne, Nancy, are there any questions about the minutes of the last meeting? I think we've probably heard
No.
everything about we can from the.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here, David, but I had invested a lot of time in in an award, and I wanted to stay home to see if my proposal, at any rate, but our extension agent did win an award
was very
at the
exciting.
state.
Oh,
That's a
Ed
great
won?
deal.
Yay!
Yeah, so,
Good, that's fine. We only need 3 commissioners here for the quorum,
Okay.
and we have the 3,
Okay.
Nancy and Roxanne and myself. Okay, so if there's no further discussion on these minutes,
Is David
Yep.
stopping? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
he will not be re-upping in January, so his term will end in
Oh, too
December.
bad.
He's moving on to something else. I forget what he said he was going to do, but it's another public body he's wanting to be on. So, are there any objections to approving the minutes of the last meeting?
Nope.
Hearing none, we have minutes of our last meeting. Our next meeting will be the 9th of December, in just over 5 weeks' time. There will be no meeting next week because it's Veterans Day.
Yeah.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.